I'm glad you're here. Coach Deb is ready for today's Diva Dialogue. Here she is. Diva Dialogue is brought to you by MindBody.
Hey, it's Monday, right? So welcome to Diva Dialogue on this very cold Monday. But I'm not even going to waste any time talking about anything else because I'm really excited to have this gentleman here, Michael Owen of Always Wear Red. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can indeed. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm very well. Are you okay?
Yes, very well, thanks.
Cool. That's good.
So how cold is it there right now?
It's all right. We're up in the north of England, about, maybe an hour from Scotland, maybe 3 hours from London. So we're at the top of England, and it's a bit chilly. I've got my coat on. I've got my coat on, so it's chilly.
It's probably really not that much different than here most of the time, I'm guessing.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, where exactly are... Actually, don't tell me. I'm rubbish with geography. Wherever you are, I hope it's not too cold.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that very much, but it is. So I'm really excited to talk to you because your brand is like really cool. I think it's elegantly understated, and just everything that you've posted that I've seen has just been wonderful. So would you tell us a little bit about how you got the idea, which I think is fascinating, and how you got started and how you got to where you are today, please?
Yeah, no problem. I'll tell you how Always Wear Red started about 3 years ago. And if you start to nod off, just prod me and tell me to shut up. But
Okay.
This is where it all started, okay? So it all started when, I can only run businesses that have a purpose. I don't want to run any brand or business that just tries to sell things. I want to try and change people. So basically, 2 ideas landed in my head. And these are the 2 ideas. The first idea, or the first notion, or the first thought was this. As I get older, I meet a lot of people who aren't doing what they were born to do. This is going back to your question about where did the brand Always Wear Red start from. So the first notion was this. The more people I met, I would say to them, oh, what do you do? And they'd tell me what they did. Then I'd ask them questions like, well, what brings you to life? What makes you feel amazing? And they'd tell me, oh, painting or singing or doing this or just doing something which was really quite different, but they didn't have the confidence to shift from where they were to where they wanted to be. So that was the first thing that made me think, this can't be right, because we get 1,000 months on this earth. 1,000 months, incidentally, is 83 years and 3 months. And then we die. So if you're not going to do what you want to do in that time, that's bad. The second notion that entered my head was there's a relationship between what you wear and how you feel. Quite simply, if you wear something that's amazing, I think you feel amazing. And if you feel amazing, you have more confidence. And if you have more confidence, then maybe you will be encouraged to do that thing that you feel you were born to do. So these 2 notions collided in my mind, and it led to me thinking, well, I wonder if I could create a fashion brand, a clothing brand that on a global scale, because Always Wear Red is a global brand, changes the way the wearer feels, so their behavior changes, so they're much more likely to do that thing that they're born to do. That's the short story of how it all started.
I love that very much. And I admire you for starting a conscious business like that. It's impressive. So what about your love for red? How did that start?
Okay, well, I couldn't run a business that encouraged people to change their lives to do what they're born to do if I hadn't first done it myself. I'm a 50-year-old guy now who for 45 of my years spent time working in business-to-business businesses, running creative agencies, etc. So I didn't want to do that anymore, so I closed them all down. And I was stood in a bar. This is coming back to your question about why red. I was stood in a bar here in Newcastle upon Tyne.
This is the story I wanted to hear, yes.
Yeah, well, all great ideas start in a bar, I think. But I wasn't drunk, believe me. I was sober. And it was Valentine's Day, 2015, and it was a grey day, and it was a bit of it was a rainy day, and a guy skipped past the bar carrying a red umbrella, and the people in the bar all turned to see this guy, and I thought, I wonder why this colour has attracted so much attention. And research eventually showed me that the colour red is the colour that the human eye sees before any other colour. So when Hillary was trying to beat Mr. Trump, she would wear red. And when, Theresa May or a lot of the powerful women in the world want to be seen as even more powerful, they tend to wear red because it's also a very powerful perception former. So the first reason was because it's the colour the human eye sees first. Red is the most powerful perception former. It is a colour of sexuality and power. And finally, it's a very British colour, because over here in the UK, when we're asked to describe Britishness, we come up with things like pillar boxes, so post boxes, and phone boxes, and London buses, all of which are red. So I decided to create a collection. Not everything is all red. I don't want that. But everything has got a tiny flash of red somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you've seen my logo is black and white and red.
Yeah. Yep. We copied you, so we need to give you royalties, surely. Send us an invoice. We'll sort it out.
Maybe you should advertise with me. Maybe it was an omen. Anyway, I think it's very interesting. Like, I really enjoy that hat with just that little piece of red on it, and the black wallet with just the little bit of red stitching. It's just fascinating how you come up. Are you your own design team, or do you have other people designing for you?
It's me mostly, because my past, Deborah, in my deep and distant past, I'm an interior designer, a product designer. Something you guys, you'll have heard of Apple. We all know of Apple. So the chief designer at Apple is called Jonathan Ive, as you may know. And Jonathan Ive and I went to university here in Newcastle in England at exactly the same time. And he's now working at Apple, and I'm now doing what I'm doing. I think he's earning more money than me, I have to say. But the short answer to your question is I've been in creativity all my life. I now just think about the way I describe our clothing is the best of the past and the best of now, because we use the world's best material, Britain's best makers, and everything's got this little flash of red. So it's me who does most of the designing.
Well, you have excellent taste. I enjoy it. So in your real life, like at home and everything, is everything black and red at home too?
My front door is, but I'm not. The dog's black and white, but no red. You know what I mean? So
what kind of dog is it?
It's a little collie, a little border collie.
Oh, cute.
So a little black and white thing. It's an interesting question. You know what? It's not really about the color red. That's a strange thing to say. I know. It's actually about confidence. It's just about how it feels. Right. Because the clothing that we have, it's not crazy red, as you quite rightly say. There are little tiny bits of red. Right. So the reason we do it more than any is just to repeat. It is the color the human eye sees. It appears closer to you than any other color. So it gives you that little edge, I really like that.
Me too. And it brands you so perfectly. I mean, if anytime I see somebody even wearing that, I think of you. If you want to know the truth, it's the branding is just genius. So I love that. So you are what you would call an entrepreneur with a purpose, and I like to call those soulpreneurs instead of SOLESOUL.
Okay.
And elaborate a little bit on why that's important to you a little bit more, because I think it's important for people to hear that.
Sure, no problem. There's a very simple reason why, in my experience, it is better to build a business that has a purpose. It's simply because businesses with a purpose matter more and last longer, and that's it. If a business is there just to try to sell things, we all know that generally businesses buy something for $1, and sell it for more than $1. So there's a margin. So if I have the privilege of buying something at $1 and selling it for $2, and I'm making the numbers up, of course, what gives me the right to charge somebody and take profit? Well, I want to be paid for making a difference. I don't want to be just paid for selling things. So that's the first reason, because if you have a purpose, you matter more. I love doing things that matter. Mm-hmm. A couple of statistics I'll mention, and I can't see you, so you can decide whether you're guilty of this. Most people, and that's nearly all people, it's in the 90-odd%, 80-odd% of their wardrobe is rarely worn. They wear 20% of their wardrobe. So 80% of their clothes, they've either bought in a sale or just too quickly, and it just doesn't get worn. Uh-huh. So that's the first statistic. And as I say, you can decide whether you're the naughty person who's doing that. The second statistic is 73% of all clothing that's made is either buried, so it becomes landfill, or it's burned, so it becomes incinerated within 3 years. So that means that we're oversupplied. So I'm trying to say to people, Deborah, buy less and buy better. So it all links back to the purpose, because going back to why I'm doing this, I feel great if I'm wearing great clothes. And if I feel great, I skip about and I'm more confident. And maybe, just to repeat, maybe I'm going to do all of those things in this short life of ours, 1,000 months, and that's it. You know, it makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with you on all those counts. I know that I used to have to dress up for work every single day.
Yeah.
And I used to pay a lot for my clothes because I had an image to uphold. But, you know, it's funny because I used to try to change the color of that I wore, because I always wear black. Mm. And I love black clothes. And it's not, my house is not black, but my wardrobe has always been black and gray with maybe a splash of red or a splash of pink here and there. And every time I bought something that was a different color, I wouldn't wear it. I ended up giving it away. So now I know better. But now I don't dress up as much. And so I am that person that has a bunch of really nice clothes hanging in the closet that I don't wear.
Sure. It's, you know, we're all guilty of it, myself as well. I mean, I was lucky enough to, you know, make a bit of money in the past, and I love clothes. I love mixing them up. Mm-hmm. Suppose it's the quality thing that I like. Always Wear Red has what we call a forever repair service. And the forever repair service is based on a little rhyming thing, which is wear it, share it, and repair it. Because we want people to, I mean, my girlfriend nicks my clothes. She pinches my clothes. And, you know, there's a lot of this goes on in partnerships, I think. But that's good, because we don't need as many clothes as we've got. And the repair it thing, if I've got a piece of clothing I love, I kind of like repairing it rather than replacing it, because I have a relationship with that piece of clothing.
Right. And clothes always look better. To me, I think clothes look better, especially like leather and hats. They look better once you've worn them for a while or had them for a while.
I mean, I would agree on that subject. We talk about Always Wear Red leather products wearing in instead of wearing out. And I have a belt which I've worn, it's one of our belts, for a couple of years, and it needed to be repaired. And our maker thought he was doing me a favor, one of our makers, and said, "Oh, we'll send you a new belt." And I said, "No, I want my belt," because I'd worn it for a year and 3/4 maybe at the time, and I loved the way the little kinks and the scratches and the solid pewter buckle had scarred it in little ways that made it mine. So I like that.
Right. Yes, me too. It's funny. So if you were to give advice to somebody that was just starting out, and in particular the clothing industry, because it's a hard niche to find. To find your individuality, what advice would you give that person?
Hey, there's a really scary question, which I think is really useful. And I ask this of anybody in business, to be honest, Deborah. It's, what is the change